Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, there are many of us that believe spirits are around us, ghosts surround us, for better or for worse. What's the difference between the two, and how do they support us if they do? We're going to look at that today. I know it sounds a little out there, but I'm totally on her page because I believe I've experienced it in my journey, even recently. And she is somebody who helps people with a PhD in philosophy, therapeutic counseling, so much more. I mean, energy healing, clairvoyance, spiritual healing. She's also an accomplished speaker, author, and composer. Does this all. Ghosts and spirits. Dr. Janine Ambrose is with us today. How you doing?
Very well. Good morning.
So, what is the difference between ghosts and spirits, or is there a difference?
There's a big difference. Ghosts are people that have transitioned, that have been caught interdimensionally. They haven't gone all the way into the spirit world. Okay. So that's why a lot of times they're angry or they've had violent deaths. And that's why there's ghosts that they call bad or angry. And then there are ghosts where they don't know that they've died and they're caught interdimensionally. And they're not bad souls. They just need to be moved on. And my daughter and I used to do that when she was in high school. A lot of times we would move on military men too. Now, a spirit are from the dimension, the heavenly dimension, whatever you want to call it, that come and help us. And a lot of times, if you see little sparks of light around you, those are spirits around you. You can see them out of your peripheral, or you'll just be looking, all of a sudden you'll see a little light, and that's a sign that they're there. They can come in many ways. You can feel them touch you, spirits. When I'd be in hospitals, they'd flash the light and want me to go up to a certain room, and that was in my 30s, and I went, no, I'm not going to do that. They put me in the psych ward. So yeah.
Okay, let's delve deeper into this. When you say that they flash the light, were you outside looking in and looking at a room and seeing a light flash, like meaning I need you to go up here?
No, literally the lights. A lot of times,
Oh,
most people don't realize this. When lights are flashing, it doesn't mean the light bulb's going out. It means there is a spirit there. That's one way that they'll show you. Sometimes it's a smell. But the little stars that you can see out of your peripheral sometimes, those are spirits too. But they come from the heavenly realm or the spirit world. They aren't caught in dimensionally.
So let's go back to ghosts. Let's focus on ghosts for a minute, and then we're going to go to spirits.
All right.
Am I hearing this right, that ghosts are basically in transition? They haven't fully crossed over to, if we're going to call it, the other side, and they're trapped, or for whatever reason they're
right.
Some used to call this thing called purgatory. Does that mean they're stuck, and because they're stuck, they're unhappy?
Some are, some aren't. Like the one that attached to my daughter when she was at a car accident was a young girl that died in a car accident. She brought her home, and in the middle of the night, she came in my room and she was real upset because she was reaching for this girl and this girl was reaching for her. But in that case, the girl went to the brightest light of the people around them and attached to her to get help. So when she brought her home at that time, this was in my 30s, I called my yogi and I go, and my yogi knew exactly what was going on. She said, Janine, move her on. So we moved her on. So I visualized a beam of white light. I called in her ancestors, and I have an ability to walk in and out of my body. So I grabbed her by the hand and I walked her into the light, and my daughter saw the whole thing. And I think I maybe said this on another show, but after that, her boyfriend showed up and said, help me, because he had committed suicide because she had died. So then we moved him on, But we realized because he had committed suicide, he couldn't go to the same place of learning that she went because he had taken his life. It's not a bad thing or a judgment thing. It's just there's frequencies everywhere, even in the spirit world. And maybe that's what the Catholic Church was talking about, purgatory and whatever. But they always make it so negative. It's not negative, it's a learning process that we go through.
Ghosts. Are there bad ghosts?
Yeah, there's violent ghosts. I mean, Jack the Ripper. I was in England and we did the Jack the Ripper tour. I didn't feel anything, but there are violent people that die that get caught interdimensionally, and these ghost shows that they have really bother me because they stir up the ghosts for TV or whatever, but they don't help them. They don't move them on, and maybe they can't. I don't know, but we can move them on so that they're at peace.
How do we know that there is a ghost attached to us?
Well, personally, I can see it on people. In fact, I had a friend I went over one day and I looked at her and she was just bent over and her face was distorted. And I took her out of her house, took her to the park and started working on her. It took me probably 20 minutes and all of a sudden it shifted off of her and her face changed. She stood up straight. It was completely different. So you can kind of see, I can see attachments on people, but you can tell by people being, what do I want to say? Just their bodies even get distorted. Does that make sense? Their face doesn't look the same.
How would you see their faces?
I just see that the light isn't shining in the light. There's a kind of a cloud over them. And that's unhappy people. Yeah.
How often do ghosts, when somebody passes, how often do they? Well, let me rewind this so even better understanding. Somebody passes, do they automatically turn into a ghost, or they're only a ghost if they haven't made their destination yet?
I'm not sure about that. All I know is that it's like my father was 97 and I told my father, Dad, when you pass, know that you deserve to go to the highest place because we judge ourselves when we die. We experience everything negative we've done to anybody. God doesn't judge us. We judge ourselves. And I said, no, that you're a good man and you deserve the best. So if we know that we deserve the best, we place ourselves there. We can place ourselves in a dark place because of guilt and fear. And that's our greatest weakness, even on the earth plane, is guilt and fear. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Unfortunately, it does. um, so by having guilt and fear, possibly shame, whatever it might be, when we pass, is that derailing our transition?
I don't think so. I think it depends on our transition. If we transition gently, or if it's a shock and we weren't ready for it, because that girl that attached to my daughter wasn't ready for it. And so that's why she got caught interdimensionally. I mean, I think there's a bunch of different scenarios that can go on, more than what I know, military men. So, yeah.
And why? I'm just trying to get my arms around people getting stuck and not crossing over, and how long I've heard that they can be stuck, if you will, for hundreds of years.
Oh, yeah. Nobody moves them on,
Wow.
but that's what we do. I mean, that's why there's people out here that, I mean, we all have gifts. Um, Sometimes we don't always think they're a blessing, but they are because we help people. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I was trying to think there was one. Oh, I wanted to tell you about a spirit that came to me. Oh, I was probably in my late 30s. I was at a restaurant in Waverly, Iowa. And I was with a friend eating, and the spirit came up and just kept bugging me to go over to this woman in the restaurant. So I went over to her and I said, "Your dad's here, blah, blah, blah." Anyway, I can't remember what I said. So about 6 months later, I ran into her and she goes, "Oh my God." She goes, "You won't believe this." She said, "I was in New York City on an elevator with John Edwards and the elevator stopped." And she goes, "Why'd the elevator stop?" And he goes, "There's too many spirits in here." And you know who John Edwards is. He's a New York psychic. He's pretty well
I
known.
I've known him for 25 years.
Okay.
Very
So,
closely, as a matter of fact.
oh, cool,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah.
So then she goes, and he said the same thing to me that you said to me. And she goes, "So I finally did what I was supposed to do because he told me the same thing."
Yeah. Uh, just gonna say he's right on target. And he has shared things with me. I don't reach out often. He started with me on the radio. He had never done any kind of media. And I almost wasn't going to have him on. They the radio station said, you got to have this guy on. He's doing a psychic fair. I'm like, man, I don't know about that. Do we have to do that? And something said, do it. And then that's after that, his TV show exploded. And then he had since pulled the plug on that. But 3 years ago, he told me, I asked him a question about my life, very important question. He gave me all the answers spot on. So I believe what you're saying. Saw it for myself, experience it. So yeah. Um, let's say we've had a relative pass. How do we know they're not a ghost? How do we know that they've actually transitioned or crossed over, if you will, to the other side?
Well, I've had people call and ask me that, and then I just tune in. I remember
Hmm.
my husband's relative passed, and his grandsons played the violin. And so when we went to the funeral, we were sitting at the funeral, and his grandsons were playing the violin at the funeral. And I just thought it was ironic. Everybody was crying, and I was seeing him dancing around the people, listening to the violin of his grandsons, happy as could be. So, we miss them because of we love them and we miss them, but the spirits are freed. They're happy. And I knew that he was moving on because he was in such a blissful place.
Hmm. Let's go to spirits now. Spirits, spirits can be people in your life, loved ones that have passed on, correct?
Absolutely.
What else can they be?
I'm not sure what you mean by that.
Could they be somehow connected to you, but you don't know them generationally? Could be from,
Oh,
uh,
ancestors, absolutely.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I pray for my ancestors. And as we, each individual, grow in consciousness and evolve and can get through our fear and inadequacy that we think we have, we release karma from ancestrally. So we release them as well as ourselves, as well as our children from going through things that are patterns in the family.
Absolutely.
It's really awesome.
How do you break the chain?
Well, for instance, my mother went through cancer. And when I talked to a friend of mine who's intuitive, he said she went through that to release karma from the family.
Hmm.
She chose to go through that to release karma from the family. So
Wow.
that's just,
Can you intentionally do it? Can you just say whatever's going on there, like there's you can cut the cords, right? Energetically cut the cords. Not for this, but I'm just saying you can do things to release. I've heard, just 3 times over your head to cut the negative cords that may be around you, maybe from a meeting or whatever it might be. Is there anything that you can do generationally to release the karma that you're carrying with you and your current loved ones?
It's all about us, the whole journey. As we grow and love ourselves to the maximum that we can love ourselves, we release all that. And we release it for our children and our grandchildren. And those aren't easy journeys
No.
to get through things and not have hate, not have anger, and to stay in love and unconditional love. That's the big word. In fact, I wrote a song called Unconditional Love.
And next week we're going to have you compose some music, but we'll get with that.
Yeah.
But when you talk about it's not easy, yeah, it's not. So wouldn't it be great that we don't let anything bother us? We just live on an astral plane, a higher place, just like, in a blissful spot. I woke up this morning, opened up the mail. My health insurance is going up 200 and something dollars a month at the end of the year. I'm like, great day. uh, but you put all that stuff aside and just ride higher in a highest vibration. Um, you're saying if you can get to that point where nothing bothers you, you just let it roll off and all of that, um, you could let go of some of that generational karma things, all that stuff that's attached to us and our family.
Well, you got to claim what you want in life because if you don't know what you want, you get whatever the universe throws you. Okay. So you can co create your day. Like when I go shopping, I claim a front row parking place. And when I get there, it's a front row parking place.
I did
So
it.
we,
I did. I don't mean to cut you off, but I did that over the weekend.
excuse me.
And it was a crowded area, and it's nearly not impossible, nearly impossible to get a closed space. So drove about an hour to get there. I pull around and the roads go one way. And I make one pass and I'm like, nah, there's no space. I manifested, not seeing it. So I'm like, I'm gonna go around again. And worst, if I need to, there's valet parking, $49. So I went around again and I'm like, I already manifested it on my way. I'm looking for a close space. I always say if somebody needs it, uh, more than me, let's say they're having physical challenge, we give it to them. Go around and I see somebody kissing their loved one goodbye. He gets in the vehicle and I'm just sitting there waiting, and valet parking is right next to me. And the guy's coming over to me. I'm like, Mom, just give me a moment. And I just got out of my car and say, excuse me, are you leaving sometime soon? He goes, yes, I am. It was the best space in the entire place, like the best of the best. And I just let my vehicle sit there and I did whatever I needed to do, left it overnight. It works. It totally works. And that's just a parking space. Imagine the other stuff if you manifest.
Well, and I always put a white light around my car when I get in it. And I've taught that in classes before. And that saved a lot of people from situations because your intention is everything again. So if you put a white light, it's a white light of protection. I also blow out 1,000 feet of frequency so that no animals come around me. And I will see animals come up and then they bounce right back off. So I co-create not having to hit an animal, being protected when I drive, and then I can relax and enjoy my trip, and I'm not stressed out or any of that. And then when I see deers, I just go back and turn around. That's how powerful we are as human beings that most people don't know. That's what I want them to know.
I I would think this is bunk, and that, putting the high vibration force field around your vehicle, the white light and all of it. If I didn't manifest spaces, and especially the coup de grace, the big check mark was the space over that was my validation after years of manifesting spaces. I'm telling you, you don't get a space here. It doesn't happen. That's why it's $49 to valet park. That was and who I was with. I'm like, see how that worked? See how that worked? That was really, that was the universe saying, dude, listen, this stuff works. Do I have to show you again? So based on what you just said, now I believe in all of it now. And it's just, you're telling me just the intention you set. You walk out to your vehicle, you visualize the white light. You think about animals, send a vibration, keeping them 1,000 feet away from your vehicle on your way. Just about the intention. That's all you got to do. Is that right?
Well, and I kind of learned that watching the Dalai Lama when he left Tibet and the movie I watched. It just felt real. When he left Tibet, he stood there and he said, "I will be back." And he left, and he will be back before he transitions. So he co-created the reality that he would come back to Tibet.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
I had a dream last night about the Dalai Lama.
Oh, cool.
I forgot until you just told me. And it was, I think, part of a radio interview, and quotes from him. This is bizarre what we're talking. That I had a dream. Like, what the heck is that about? I don't know where it came from. Um, Now I'm going to try and remember more of it, but it was connected to the Dalai Lama. I know nothing about the Dalai Lama, where this even came from. And then you just mentioned it. Wow. You're not surprised.
I was trying to look at anything else that I wanted to talk about that. So, I have a really good one about a ghost. It was a young girl, and my brother and sister-in-law called me and said that they had water coming through their walls at this house they moved in. Did I tell you about this? So they called me down, and I went down there, and I went in the room, and I said, "A young girl died in here." And they said, "Yeah, she did. She had leukemia." And when they had the water tested, it was actually tears. And so I went out and I took everybody in the family, and we sat there, and I showed them how to see into the spirit world. And I brought the girl in, and we moved her on, and the family actually could see her. And once they moved her on, the water that was coming through the walls disappeared. So, and I've taught doctors how to see auras. I mean, all of that's really easy to do. You just got to be open to it. It's not magic or mystical. It's all energy.
What if you're living your life, you think you're doing all the right things, you know that there's more out there, but it hasn't come to you yet. And I'm not talking just parking spaces, maybe something bigger. Should you work harder on your intention of what you believe should be yours, whatever it
Well,
might be?
you have to have action. I listen to a lot of people say, all you got to do is meditate to manifest. There has to be action to create, to manifest. You have to start something so that the universe can work with you. You can't just sit all day and meditate, to manifest what you want. So yeah, there has to be action, but there also has to be patience, because there's a divine timing for everything.
Sure.
And so if things don't turn out the way that you wanted them to, it wasn't meant to be. Something better's coming. That's the way I look at it.
Or it may not be exactly what you wanted, but it's what the universe felt you should get.
Absolutely.
Do you, final question? I mean, we segged into manifesting here somehow. But do you need to release to receive? Do you need to release to receive? Examples. You have a job. You know you can do better. It doesn't support you. Should you start thinking about leaving that job when you feel that there's another opportunity right there? You know it. You feel it. You feel it. Same thing with a relationship. You're in a relationship. It's not, you're holding on to, it's not the right one. You know it. Should you release, when they say one door closes, another one opens, is it a product of that? And could those things be things that we hold on to for fear?
Well, what I have seen through the years is that people that don't listen when they're not happy in a situation, their body usually creates an ailment they have to leave. So emotionally, we create a way out if we don't listen. Does that make sense?
It's like you create your reality or destiny.
Yeah, if you don't listen, I mean, if we're supposed to be in harmony. And so it's like I have a really difficult time being around negative people. And I never
Oh,
say anything, I just leave. I just, and I put light around them and I just leave. So we have a choice in every situation. I guess it's a choice that we choose.
I'm right there with you. And it's not about me, but I validate what you're saying. I've experienced that more and more in the last couple of weeks. I'm going to say finally I'm getting it, picking up on the energy of others. I'll just leave you with this. I don't even know what it means, but I met somebody business wise, amazing energy, just amazing. I just like I even said, I mean, just like I'm riveted to hearing your story, all of that. And we're gonna meet this week. He's gonna give me a tour of his business. Maybe we'll work together. Who knows? Just like
Cool.
awesome energy. Now, fast forward a few days later, I was with somebody who I knew from, a couple of years ago, and just like the energy was just something's different there. And I was feeling it like I need to just push back on this. And he left his stuff, and I have to get his stuff back to him. It's not even worth the details. Brought a book with him. I didn't even see the book until I was, taking out of my trunk his stuff. The book was about witches and witchcraft. And I don't know what that means, but all I know is like all of the energy wasn't right for me. I saged everything, by the way, just saying. And that's just me. But I felt different energies, but more in tune with it than ever before.
That's cool. It's good. That's really good.
Taking a long time.
Well, life's a journey, and
Yeah.
that's something I wanted to say today. It's all a puzzle. It's like this big puzzle, and these are all pieces: numerology, lexicograms, spirituality. All of these pieces have to come together for enlightenment. And what is enlightenment? It's being at peace. It's resonating love. And I've been claiming, and I wonder if this is going to work, but I have been claiming that I physically glow with love. So that when I go places, it affects everybody around me. That's what I've been claiming. So we'll see how that one works out.
I don't doubt it for a second. There is definitely a certain energy about you. I've never detected, never felt anything like it. Thank you for the insight today. Interesting.
You bet.
Interesting.
You are a sweetheart.
What's your website, Janine?
www.docja.pro. Pro.
Gotcha. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being our professional of the year. Thanks for the insight. Lots to think about.
Pushing buttons.
Pushing buttons, exactly. And we're going to push musical buttons and look at another one of your talents next time we get together.
All right. Sounds great.
Looking forward. Thank you.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.